Bhagavate Vas- Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today, we'll take a little break from Damodar Leela. It's the disappearance day of Narottama Das Thakur. And on the appearance and disappearance days of these great Vaishnavas, it's wonderful to remember them and seek their blessings, because they are Nitya Siddhas. They're already with Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we seek their blessings, they can also become pleased upon us and guide us back to the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. So I wanted to seek also your good wishes and your blessings so that we can remember this amazing personality. Just put it up here. Thank you. Okay, so Narottama Das Thakur. And of course, he's got loads of bhajans as well. So Karuna, it looks like a lifetime may not be enough. So many bhajans to go through, but very, very good. Okay. Once when Gauranga decided to go from Puri to Vrindavan, he stopped in the village of Ramakeli to see Rupa and Sanatan. At that time, he began to shout in ecstasy, "Oh, Narottam, Narottam." From this, the intimate devotees, especially Nityananda, knew that a great personality would soon take birth as Narottam, meaning topmost person. Naro is person, man. Uttam is topmost. However, on this occasion, his ecstasy was far deeper. Nityananda asked him the reason. Gauranga said that across the Padma in Keturi, Narottam will be born, and he will be the recipient of his intense love, which Gauranga was going to deposit in the Padma. And this great soul will soon appear in their lifetimes. The next morning, Gauranga went to bathe and deposit his love in the Padma, which overflowed. At that time, the personified Padma, understanding that she has to deliver the love to Narottam, appeared before Gauranga, asking, how will she be able to identify the recipient of the love? And Gauranga answered that when somebody enters your water and causes you to overflow, as I have made you feel greatly jubilant, he is the person. So Gauranga left the world in 1524. Narottam was born 1520, so 4 years before. So fast forward to when Narottam became a teenager. Nityananda appeared to him in a dream, saying, tomorrow as the sun begins to rise, you shall take your bath in the Padma river. At that time, you will receive the totality of Gaura Prema, or love of God. When he woke, Narottam immediately complied with Nityananda's instructions. Entering the Padma, he felt himself undergo a vital transformation. Just then, Gauranga appeared before his eyes and affectionately embraced him. As their bodies merged, he felt Gauranga's very essence engulf his soul. It is said that at that moment, Narottam's natural dark complexion turned to molten gold, color of Gauranga. So that place is called Prematali Ghat on the Padma River in Bangladesh, and pilgrims visit this holy place. Of course, Bangladesh is going through some really horrible situation at the moment. On the banks of Padmavati River in the town of Keturi in the month of Magh, on the day of Shukla Panchami, 1520, Narottam Das took his birth. His father was King Krishnananda Dutt and mother's name was Sri Narayani Devi. The king's older brother was Purushottam Dutt, who had a son called Santosh. The wealth and fame of these two brothers was beyond compare. Seeing many auspicious omens surrounding the birth of his son, King Krishnananda was very pleased and gave lavishly in charity to the Brahmins. The Brahmins, seeing all auspicious signs surrounding the child's birth, prophesied that the boy was a highly perfected soul and great personality, by whose influence many people would be delivered. The king's son grew more effulgent and beautiful with each passing day. His bodily luster was just like molten gold. But he said he was dark, and then he turned molten gold when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hugged him. Anyway, his eyes were large. Yeah, and shaped like lotus petals. His arms extended to his knees. He had a deep navel. All these are bodily symptoms of a Mahapurush, great personality. All the local town people used to gather to take darshan of the beautiful and saintly child. The king's wife, having given birth to such a wonderful boy, was floating in the ocean of ecstasy. She always kept the boy close to her, and was always concerned for his well-being, caring for him constantly. The boy was extremely peaceful. Wherever his mother put him, he would quietly stay put. Within the ladies' quarters, the ladies used to nurture and care for the child with great ecstasy. The boy's Anupashan Samskar, or grain-giving ceremony, was held at that time in order to ensure auspiciousness and a bright future for his son. Krishnananda gave much charity. The astrologer present on that occasion, joyful occasion, noted all the auspicious signs on the child's body and predicted that the boy would be an illustrious person. This baby will be the greatest of men. Therefore, he should be called Narottama. The festivities went on happily until Krishnananda tried to feed his son the rice. To everyone's dismay, the child refused to eat. Although they coaxed him again and again, he repeatedly turned his head away. The festive atmosphere was replaced with anxiety, and everyone looked at each other nervously, not knowing what to do. The thoughtful astrologer, however, reassured everyone, "Don't worry, this baby will not accept food unless it has been first offered to Vishnu." So even as a little baby, he was amazing. Thus the child was offered to Vishnu and then again offered to the child. Sorry? The rice. Oh yeah, sorry. To everyone's relief, the child happily devoured it. From that day, realizing the value of prasad, the king ordered, "Only food which has been offered to Krishna should be given to my son." Although the worship of Krishna was customary in the family, from the time of Narottama's birth, everyone became more attentive to the service of the Lord. He was an adorable boy and endeared himself to everyone. Soon he was the talk of the town. Just one glance at Narottama is sufficient to cool my mind and chase away all miseries. From every angle of vision, the prince is beautiful. I've never seen such a gorgeous boy. In this way, Krishna, the son, was glorified throughout the land. Gradually, the day of his entrance into school, Hatekari, approached. Everyone astonished at his amazing intelligence. Simply by hearing a subject once from the gurus, he would commit it to memory. In only a short time, he mastered the study of Sanskrit grammar, poetry, rhetoric, and became expert in many different scriptures. After the glorious incident at Padma River, he saw as useless any knowledge which did not promote Hari Bhajan. Soon lost interest in everything but Krishna consciousness, even informing his parents after they noticed a change in him, what had happened at the gut, requesting them if he can search for the Lord. The parents, being concerned, called a spirit tamer to save the possessed boy, suggesting silly treatments. Day after day, Narottama began to think of how he could become free from family life, constantly engage himself in the Lord's service. He was indifferent to all material enjoyment, where most children usually like to play. He was uninterested in playing games. At this time, hearing the glories of Nityananda and Sri Gauranga from the lotus lips of the devotees of the Lord, his heart filled with spiritual joy. There was one aged Brahmin in Keturi named Krishnadas Kaviraj, the famous one who authored Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was a genuine servant of Lord Krishna and loved Narottama deeply. He could not let a single day pass without seeing Narottama. Krishnadas was so powerful, by dint of his devotion, no one dare disobey him. Every day after completing his worship of Krishna, Krishnadas Kaviraj would visit Narottama. Narottama welcomed him with wholehearted enthusiasm, humbly falling prostrate at his feet. Offering him a seat, he would then eagerly inquire about Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Krishna's Kaviraj happily narrated the pastimes of the Lord in three parts, as we know, Adi, Madhya, and Antya. He went to glorify the transcendental activities of Nityananda, Dvaita, and all the other devotees with such emotion that even wood or stone would melt upon hearing his devotional narration. So one day, hopefully, we will try to go through Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, hopefully in this lifetime. Narottama was lost in the ecstasy of love for the Lord. With eyes full of tears, he hopefully worshipped the Lord privately, oblivious to everything else. In this way, he lost all taste for mundane pleasure and could not bear to even hear topics related to royal pleasures and properties. So you can imagine he was a prince and yet not interested. Extraordinary. Aware of their son's growing apathy for material life, Krishnananda and Narayani were filled with anxiety, could think of nothing else. Finally, they decided to appoint someone to constantly watch over their son. But still, they were unable to find peace of mind. Narottama's home became a prison for him. He longed to be free. Although he said nothing, he constantly waited for the opportunity to leave home. Every day, he secretly pleaded desperately for the Lord's help. His body became covered with dust as he rolled on the ground crying. Raising his arms in the air, he begged pitifully, Gauranga, Nityananda, Dvaita, my lords, please save me from this hell. One day, due to the desire of the Lord, Narottama fell asleep, and in his dream he saw Gauranga. His splendid beauty could not be compared to gold, lightning, or anything else of this world. The beautiful curling hair hanging down his back could turn the minds of even the most virtuous women. His earrings shone brightly, and his lotus eyes were the trap of Cupid. His smiling face could easily defeat the effulgence of the moon, and the beautiful tilak on the forehead could capture one's breath. His graceful hands swept down to his knees, and how broad his chest was. Beautiful jeweled garlands hung around his conch-like neck, and his deep navel was finely shaped. His thin waist defeated even the lion. His knees looked like toppled banana trees, and his feet were more attractive than lotuses. How gorgeous was this three-fold loin cloth. So this is an idea of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his beauty. Observing the beauty of Mahaprabhu, Narottama shed tears of love and fell at the feet of the Lord. Placing his feet on Narottama's head, Gauranga said sweetly, "Oh Narottama, look at me. I cannot bear your tears. Don't worry. Go straight to Vrindavan. There you will be initiated by my dear devotee, Lokanath Das Goswami. He will happily pour the nectar of the Mahamantra into your ears. I have many plans which are to be served by you." Extraordinary, huh? In this dream, Narottama saw Lord Chaitanya on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvip. He was enjoying his pastimes along with Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas, Swarup, and other associates as they engaged in Sankirtan while the people of Navadvip witnessed their divine pastimes. Eager to inspect this beautiful scene, even Brahma, Shiva, and other demigods and goddesses mingled with the crowd in disguise. Even the animals and birds were charmed. Those who were born blind were suddenly able to see and rushed to observe the extraordinary Sankirtan performance. Seeing this wonderful fun, Narottama wept with joy. On seeing Narottama, Gauranga embraced Narottama, put him in the care of Nityananda and Advaita, who encouraged Narottama to go to Vrindavan. He then woke up, Narottama, wept with joy as he began to see many auspicious signs, including good fortune. In anticipation, he waited, hoping that the good fortune would soon arise. After this, in order to understand how to become free from family life, Narottama Das began to think day and night of how he could go to Vrindavan. He prayed, Hari Hari, Kabe Haba, Vrindavan Vasi. Oh Hari, when will I become a resident of Vrindavan? When will I serve the beautiful divine couple in Vrindavan with tears in my eyes? It's amazing, isn't it? We have this opportunity to go to Vrindavan. even in our own life, but we don't have such strong desire. But Narottam, they had such difficulty, to go there, but yet there's such strong desire. What a contrast. Seeing Narottam's indifference to all sense pleasure and his intense renunciation, King Krishnananda and Narayani became even more vigilant to watch over him. Narottam saw that the difficulties involved in escaping were becoming more impassable than the Himalayas, and thought he might never be able to go to Vrindavan. He absorbed himself in the worship of the lotus feet of Gauranga, thinking only of how to get the mercy of Gauranga Nitai. He began to pray very earnestly for guidance from them. Then some messengers came from the ruler of Bengal, informing King Krishnananda that the ruler of Bengal wanted to meet with him. In order to meet with the ruler of Bengal, he and his brother Purushottam Das went on a long journey to the coast of to the ruler of Bengal. Narottam took advantage of that moment, thinking it to be a good opportunity to leave home. At that time, he secretly left his mother and protectors, turned towards Vrindavan, began his journey to that holy land. It was on the full moon day in the month of Kartik. Narottam left his family behind. Passing through Bengal in a short time, he soon found himself on the road to Mathura. All the pilgrimages would meet very, very affectionate towards Narottam, as they recognized him as the son of the king. He would sometimes live by drinking milk, sometimes would eat the roots and fruits as he went along. His constant hankering to see Vrindavan made his hunger and thirst go away. After 3 days, however, his soft royal feet began to blister, and at one point, due to exhaustion, he lost consciousness. When he was in that exhausted state, Gauranga appeared to him in the form of golden-skinned Brahman, supplied a pot of milk for him to drink. Not recognizing the Brahman as Gauranga, Narottam merely fell asleep, submitting once again to exhaustion. As he slept, Rupa Goswami appeared to him in a dream and informed him that Gauranga had brought that milk for him personally. He should drink it and proceed to Vrindavan. This gave Narottam great assurance and enthusiasm. Before leaving that area, however, his father sent scouts to search for him. They found him. However, with his sweet words, he convinced the guards to let him go on his way. One of the guards even offered him money for his expenses. As he moved from place to place, he would hear the glories of Gaura and Nitai from the mouths of many devotees. In this way, he was always thinking about their lotus feet, constantly absorbed meditation. As he walked and walked, he prayed to the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, as he had written, Arakabe Nitai Chand, when will Nityananda show his mercy to me and free me from the world of birth and death? By his mercy, one may give up material enjoyment and purify his mind. In this way, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, one can attain Vrindavan. In this way, walking and walking, Narottama Das arrived in Mathura, and seeing the Yamuna, he offered many prayers. Remembering the names of the 6 Goswamis headed by Rupa and Sanatana, he began to weep in ecstasy. Gradually, he came to Vrindavan itself and entered into that holy land. Upon reaching Vrindavan, he came upon the magnificent Radha Govindji temple built by Rupa Goswami. The Vaishnavas informed immediately Shri Jiva Goswami of a newly arrived effulgent personality who was showing all the ecstatic symptoms of love of God. Jiva Goswami understood, this is Narottam, and together with the other great saints greeted him. And he requested Narottam to serve the lotus feet of Lokanath Goswami. He was very old, Lokanath Goswami, and so deeply agonized by pain of separation from Gauranga that his very life had been taken away. Narottam offered his obeisances to lotus feet of Lokanath, and Lokanath Goswami asked him, who are you? Narottam said, I am your fallen servant. I wish to serve your lotus feet. Lokanath replied, how can I, who am unable to serve Gaur Nitai, accept any service? Lokanath Goswami asked Narottam to constantly chant for a year, which he did, but still Lokanath would not initiate Narottam. So Narottam would secretly go in the middle of the night to the place where Lokanath Maharaj would pass stool and urine and cleanse the area, maintaining everything there very nicely. After a year of serving in this way, Lokanath Goswami realized Narottama was engaged in this humble service. And with the encouragement of Gauranga in a dream, bestowed his mercy upon Narottama Das. On the full moon day of the month of Shravan, he initiated Narottama as his disciple. I think Lokanath Goswami didn't have many disciples. Maybe Narottama was his only disciple. Can't remember now, but he wouldn't take disciples. He was very, very humble. Narottama excelled in spiritual practice. One day he dreamt that divine Vaishnavi asked him to serve under the gopi Champaklata and make special milk for the divine couple. When he woke, he immediately ran to his guru, who confirmed that the divine person was Radha herself, my goodness, informing Narottama of his eternal sweet service. So Narottama would often go into trances and boil milk, which sometimes would boil over, and he would use his bare hands to stop the overflow. When he would come out of trance, his hands would be scorched. His meditation was very effective. This is Manasi Seva. So we can also do the same in Kali Yuga. If we, for any reason, cannot attend the temple or cannot do physically our service, then we can do it by our mind. In Kali Yuga, anything we do by our mind is as good as doing it physically. Of course, when we do it physically, our mind can be a little bit more absorbed. When we do it mentally, because our focus of attention isn't so great, it may not be proper. Anyway, by the order of his guru, Narottama would study the Goswami scriptures under the guidance of Jiva Goswami. Srinivas Acharya was his dear friend. Two of them used to study together. At that time, Shyamananda arrived from Gotadesh. So three of them were really amazing personalities. Shyamananda also began studying Goswami's scriptures under the guidance of Jiva. These three with one mind performed the bhajan in Vrindavan. And one day Jiva Goswami called them and said, in the future, you must preach the message of Sriman Mahaprabhu far and wide. Taking the literatures of the Goswamis, you must quickly go to Bengal and begin preaching. So all of them went. They gave up their residence in Vrindavan. They accepted the order of Jiva Goswami, and they took these treasured scriptures of the Goswamis to Bengal. And there they are. This Narottama, Shyamananda, and Srinivas. Now, this is quite a involved pastime. So I'll just go through it in summary. I think we've been through it a few times, fortunately, and it's always nice to just remember this, but I was just going to do it in a summary format. So they were going with these books that Jiva Goswami had made arrangements for these books to be transported in a cart, and they had people who were looking after these scriptures. But one night, this king of the dacoits who ruled Vana Vishnupur, his name was Birhambir, he stole them, or he got his men to steal them, thinking that this is some treasure. And of course, when they brought these books to the king, he realized that it wasn't treasure in the sense of gold and silver, it was treasure in the sense of scriptures. So he kept them safe. So although he was dacoit, or the king of the dacoits, he actually was quite a pious person. Anyway, what happened was when they were stolen, Srinivas stayed behind to find these books. And Narottama went to Keturigram. So let's fast forward to Keturigram. There he went to visit Navadvip, and he met Isan Thakur, the old servant of Sachimata. He also met Shripati and Srinidhi Pandit at the house of Srivas Pandit. He met Shukrambar, Brahmachari Damodar Pandit. These were quite elderly Vaishnavas at that time. Then he went to Shantipur. He met the eldest son of Advaitacharya, Achyutananda. Met Hridaya Chaitanya. So he met so many of the Vaishnavas. He eventually was introduced to Janava Mata and Vasudha. They bestowed their mercy upon him. He also went to Jagannath Puri, meeting Gopinath. Gopinath was a brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He would visit all the different places of pilgrimage in Jagannath Puri. And he went to Gadadhar, but Gadadhar had already left, but he took darshan of Dr. Gopinath. He visited different homes, different places of pilgrimage in Jagannath Puri. And then he went to Nrsimhapur, place of Shyamananda, where Shyamananda went. Then he also went to Akachakra, Lord Nityananda's appearance place. Fantastic place to go to visit. Then finally he went to Keturigram. He reached his birthplace again. And upon arriving there, everybody was so happy to see them. His mother and father already passed away. And Purushottam's son, Santosh Dutt, he was the foremost of saintly persons in the village. All the people were very happy to see Narottam, and he could see that they were ready to receive the mercy of Krishna. So this was a huge step for in Narottam's life. He initiated Santosh, his cousin, and this 123 other disciples are listed, he initiated. Lokanath Goswami, he wrote to him to establish deity worship. So with Santosh, they made various arrangements. In fact, in Keturi, they held the first Go Purnima festival. So Santosh made all the different arrangements, and Narottam organized everything. And they also installed 6 deities at that time. And devotees came from everywhere. It was a huge festival. And I think Janava Mataji, she was the presiding priestess in that whole festival. Yeah, there is. She began, on the orders of Janava, they made the final presentation for the installation of the deities and the holy appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was a huge, huge celebration. It's the first Go Purnima. And they did a lot of elaborate ceremonies. Of course, the chanting and the dancing always takes place into the middle of the night. And then they would have, the next morning, they did the installation ceremonies, celebrated Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day. And Srinivas, he was one of the principal organizers as well. He presided over the Abhishek. Must have been the most glorious festival. The orators spoke and singers sang sweet songs. So what's this? In Gopalpur lived a Brahmin named Vipradas, whom Narottam met. Vipradas had a rice paddy store where a terrifying snake lived. Out of fear of the snake, he didn't dare go inside the storehouse. Vipradas told Narottam of his fear. Hearing this, Narottam smiled a bit. Think nothing of it. When Narottam opened the door to the storehouse, the snake had vanished. When Narottam came out of the storehouse, it could be seen that he had with him the deities of Gaura, Sundar on his lap. Everyone saw a great miracle. So this festival had lots and lots, as you would expect, prasadam. Everybody was fed sumptuously. And by that time, Shyamanandan also had arrived there. So the three devotees were together again. And Janava Devi, she was in charge because she was the eldest of the Vaishnavas. And Narottama Das Thakur is also very famous for sweet and wonderful kirtan. He's written many, many bhajans, and hopefully at some point we'll go through them. But he also had a very melodious voice, his sweet style of kirtan. And he had different styles of singing as well. The rhythms, the melodic formats, gestures of emotional expression, developed dance techniques. And this is all explained in the Bhakti Ratnakar, which is scripture written, describing all these pastimes. He inaugurated what became known as the Padavali Kirtan, a dramatic singing technique that begins with the glorification of Mahaprabhu. I don't think we've ever gone through these kirtan. I don't know if that's even now available. If it is, we'll try to find it. It must be the most incredible kirtans. And after the Sankirtan, they celebrated Holi, because Holi also takes place on Gaur Purnima. So it's a fantastic celebration, which they observed. So you can see here, Jahnavi Mataji, she offered the deity some red powder. And then they played Holi with each other as well. And when the twilight came, the wedding ceremony began, conducted by Srinivas, as the devotees sung the Abhishek song for Mahaprabhu's appearance ceremony and celebration. Festival lasted for 3 days. So many reasons this Kheturi festival is considered to be one of the most important festivals, milestones. Because the direct disciples of Gauranga, Nityananda and Advaita were there. Janava Mataji was there. Different types of Kirtan was sang for the first time. So many Vaishnavas came from different parts of the land. It must have been the most extraordinary place. Due to his devotion, purity, and wonderful nature, Narottam quickly became the most famous Vaishnava guru. And this brought disciples to him from all over Bharat. He inspired people from all walks of life, from kings to Brahmins. There was a certain Brahmanical class who wanted to defame him on the basis that he was born as a Kayashta Shudra, in a Kayashta Shudra family. And they wanted to get the king to chastise Narottam. And as far as I understand, oh yes, that's right. So this king planned to, with the Brahmins, to have a debate with Narottam. So they went to where Narottam is, but a couple of devotees, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they realized what was going to happen. So they pretended to be shopkeepers in that village where Narottam was. And the king and his soldiers, they came to that place, and they started, the people, the soldiers, they were debating with Narottam Das, these two, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti and Ramachandra Kaviraj. The scholars actually were debating with them, because they wanted to buy something from the shop, and they got into a debate. And these two, Ganga Narayan and Ramachandra, they were really clever, and they defeated these scholars. And the scholars were really surprised. Even these shopkeepers can speak in such perfect Sanskrit, and they're so learned. If they're so learned, what is Narottam going to be like? So they decided not to not to enter into any debate with Narottam. They accepted defeat on that basis. And then later on, the king had a dream that what you were trying to do was defame Narottama Das, who is a great devotee. You should take shelter of him. You should take initiation, diksha, from Narottama Das Thakur. So later on, the king went to Narottama Das Thakur and fell at his feet and asked him for forgiveness. And Narottama Das was very, very humble. He accepted the king's apology and he gave that king initiation. And that king later on, he was a great Vaishnava king, actually. He set up the whole town, the whole village, whole of his kingdom was based around Vedic philosophy. And I believe to this day, that area is still very much following the Vaishnava tradition. So I haven't personally been there, but that's what I've heard. One of his most important works is this Pratna, which is the songs, 33 Bengali songs divided into 258 verses. So in 55 sections. So this is at some point, hopefully we will get a chance to go through these incredible bhajans. Srila Prabhupada was fond of singing Narottama Das's poetry, often quoting him in lectures. So this shows the importance of Narottama Das Thakur. He serves Srimati Radhika as Vilash Manjari. His samadhi is in Radha Gokulananda's temple courtyard. And this temple is really a glorious temple in Vrindavan. It's near Radha Raman temple. And when we go there, there is an area dedicated to various samadhis. I know Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's samadhi is there. So Narottama Das Thakur's samadhi is also there. It's, and often when we go, we would chant and sit and chant there for some time because it's such a divine place, amazing place. Ah, there it is. This is the Narottama Das Thakur's samadhi in Radha Gokulananda temple. So anytime we go there, it's worth sitting. Somebody was sharing with me today that we go to Vrindavan, we take darshan and we leave. You know, we stay a few days. And we almost consider, we are considered to be thieves if we do that, without doing something in practical seva for the Brijbasis. We have to somehow or other, whenever we go to Vrindavan, do some real seva to help. Of course, we're helping ourselves. We can't help the Brijbasis. They're under the shelter of Krishna directly. But if we engage in some seva, Krishna becomes very pleased. Those Brijbasis become pleased. And if the Brijbasis become pleased, then Krishna will automatically become pleased. So Narottama Das Thakur had beautiful shaligrams. So they are also worshipped at the moment in Katuri, Bengal, Bangladesh. And this is a nice pranam mantra for Lokanath Das Goswami. Shrimad Radha Vinodik Deika Seva Sampat Samanvitam Padam Nabhatmajam Shimal Lokanath Prabham Bhaje. I worship the lotus feet of Srila Lokanath Prabhu, the son of Sri Padmanabh. He is the storehouse of single-minded service to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Vinod. Narottama Das Thakur ki jai. So that was a quick whiz through Narottama Das Thakur's life, his disappearance today. So very, very important day. And as you can see, very, very important Vaishnav. So we can seek his blessings that we can engage. He can show us the way to Radha and Krishna. Very important personality. So if there's any questions or any comments, you're welcome to ask. Otherwise, we can shift on to the Nashinga Kavach for the protection of everyone so that we can continue our seva for the divine couple. Narottama Das Thakur ki jai.